The Puck Portfolio with Andy MacNeil.
Hey, welcome to the Puck Portfolio. My name is Andy MacNeil. I'm your host. I'm here on weekdays to provide NHL projections, betting advice, and picks to help you make informed bets throughout the Stanley Cup playoffs. It is Wednesday, May 8th, and we had a wild start to the Western Conference second round. The Dallas Stars jumped out to a 3-0 lead in the first period against the Colorado Avalanche, but the Avalanche battled back, won the game 4-3 in overtime, now lead the series 1-0. Hopefully the Stars can even it up in game two. And hopefully the next Western Conference series is just as exciting. The Oilers and the Canucks set to go head to head in the playoffs for the first time since 1992. And NorthStar Bets, our sponsor, lists the Oilers as a minus 265 series favorite heading into game one versus Vancouver, who is a plus 215 series underdog. The Oilers are currently listed as a co-favorite to win the Stanley Cup, plus 350 currently at NorthStar Bets, along with the New York Rangers, who, as you know, are already up 2-0 in their series. So that says a lot about where Edmonton is heading into the second round. Meanwhile, the Canucks at 16-1 have the worst Stanley Cup odds, which of course means the Oilers are Canada's best hope to end our Stanley Cup drought. But of course, the Canucks did defeat the Oilers in all 4 regular season games this season. The Oilers don't want to talk about that, though. They want to focus on the playoffs, and that's what we're going to do here. We're handicapping this series on today's episode of the Puck Portfolio. So let's start with the Canucks. And I think we can start by saying what worked for Vancouver in the first round versus Nashville is not going to work in the second round versus the Edmonton Oilers. The Canucks did a good job defending against the Predators in round one, and backup goalie Arthur Silovs was really good as well. He allowed just 5 goals in 3 starts. He posted a .938 save percentage, but he's got just 12 NHL games under his belt, and he's going to be facing off against 2 of the most prolific playoff scorers of all time, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. Vancouver was able to slow the game down and hold Nashville to just 53 shot attempts per 60 minutes, but it did come at a price. The Canucks scored just 1.63 goals per 60 minutes at even strength versus the Predators in round one. And that's pretty similar to how the Canucks played during even strength down the stretch. So, according to Evolving Hockey, Vancouver ranked 6th in goals against and 23rd in goals per 60 minutes between February 1st and the end of the regular season. Vancouver did finish as a top 5 offensive team thanks to their strong start, but we know that the Oilers scored at a much more consistent rate. So not only is it tough to envision Vancouver outscoring the Oilers at even strength, it's also tough to imagine the Canucks winning the special teams battle. It's going to be up against a deadly Oilers power play that went 9 for 20 in round number 1. Meanwhile, Vancouver was dreadful on the power play, going just 2 for 13 against the Nashville Predators in the first round. The Canucks did have a pretty good penalty kill in round 1. They only allowed 2 power play goals on 22 Predators opportunities, but facing off against that Oilers power play is going to be a whole different story. And while Edmonton's power play might not be as successful as it was in round 1 versus the Kings, it's pretty unlikely that the Canucks penalty kill will be as successful as it was in the first round. Also, Canucks superstar Elias Pettersson has to step up. He registered just 3 secondary assists in the first round. He's had success against the Oilers, including scoring 1 goal and adding 7 assists in the regular season. But he had success against Nashville in the regular season as well, and that did not translate to playoff success. So Pettersson has to step up because JT Miller is going to have his hands full with Connor McDavid's line. Doesn't matter that Pettersson might be dealing with an illness. He missed practice on Tuesday, but was back with the Canucks at their optional skate on Wednesday. He's going to have to make a difference in this series. Otherwise, Vancouver's season is going to be over. That's not to say that Vancouver can't keep this series close and make it interesting, but the city here in Edmonton is buzzing because everybody knows that the Oilers have a pretty good shot of advancing to the Western Conference final. In fact, I think they're a pretty good bet in game one, to be honest. Edmonton closed at minus 158 and minus 114 in two road games versus the Vancouver Canucks earlier this season. And the betting market seems to have settled between those two data points. Now, of course, those games took place in October and November, and we've seen a lot of changes. But I'm going to argue that Edmonton should be a bigger favorite here in game one. The Oilers outperformed Vancouver in all facets of the game down the stretch, offensively, defensively. And unlike the Predators, Edmonton has more than one scoring line. On paper, the Canucks are more talented than a team like the Kings, but they performed very similarly to one another in the last few months of the regular season. And I think this series could be a carbon copy of the one we saw in the first round between Edmonton and Los Angeles. The Oilers are a top 10 team when it comes to generating shots, while Vancouver ranked 23rd in that category. The Canucks have only managed to generate 20 shots per 60 minutes in the playoffs so far. Edmonton, on the other hand, has registered 31 shots per 60 minutes in the playoffs. So there's a pretty big gap here. Vancouver did finish as a top 10 team when it came to preventing shots against, but so did the Kings, and look where it got them. The Canucks turned into an average offensive team as the season went on, while the Oilers sustained their status as one of the most dangerous teams in the league. Like I said, the Oilers power play went 9 for 20 in the first round, with McDavid picking up a point on all 9 power play goals. And Edmonton's penalty kill was perfect against the Kings in round number 1 as well. Given Vancouver's power play struggles and their lack of production from some of their top stars, it seems very unlikely that the Canucks will be able to outscore the Oilers in the second round. Vancouver might be able to slow down Edmonton's attack, but Los Angeles actually played pretty well at even strength in the series, and it was still an uphill battle. The Oilers are currently a minus 139 money line favorite at NorthStar Bets, while the Canucks are plus 120 on the money line. I think there's some value betting on the Oilers, as this line should be closer to minus 150, and I think in hindsight, we'll look back on this series and think that Edmonton should have been a bigger favorite. Of course, the Canucks are hoping to get Thatcher Demko back in the second round at some point, but there's no timetable on his return, and that creates some uncertainty when handicapping this series in the long term. For the Oilers, they'll be looking to make quick work of the Canucks and never see Demko in the series, ideally. So expect Edmonton to come out strong in game one and open up the series on the right foot. Historically, the Oilers have not done great in game one, at least not during the McDavid era, but they came out strong against the Kings this year in the playoffs, and I expect them to do so once again in round number 2. According to my projections, Edmonton should win the series about 73.5% of the time. That means their series price should be somewhere in the minus 275 range, but still that minus 265 series price offered at NorthStar Bets. Although it is a good price relative to what I'm seeing out there in the market, is still a little too rich for my blood. But that does it for today's episode of the Puck Portfolio. I'm looking forward to the game tonight. Go Oilers. Good luck with your bets and gamble responsibly.